Have you told your friends that you see ghosts?
Oh, absolutely not.
Gina Rodriguez returns in Not Dead Yet.
I'm back, baby!
Who is up?
Oh, she's the obituary writer.
And Brad Garrett joins the brilliant ensemble cast.
Titan, Maverick, Titan of all Mavericks. These are all words used to describe me.
Not Dead Yet. Season premiere. Tonight, 8:30, 7:30 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
Welcome to this week's episode of Horror Movie Night. I have just gotten back from a trip all around the world to all of the exotic spots. Kyle, our guest this week, is a flopsy trying to sue me. And additionally, Scott's going to save us with his dog, Petey. So, welcome as we discuss 1996. Yes, this came out in 1996. Bad Moon. I don't know about you guys, but the fact that this came out in 1996 was the most shocking thing in the world to me.
Yeah, it had a different sort of air to it that didn't scream 1996.
Yeah, until the CGI at the very end. Ugh.
That was a little
It felt so, I don't know why, I always thought that this was like mid to late 80s for me, like everything about it. But then they even say something about like, yeah, back in 1995, and I'm like, oh, shit. Like,
What year is it?
so this movie kicks off in
With
the best,
boobs!
best possible way. 2 minutes in, we get some kinky Amazon sex and a brutal werewolf attack.
Yeah, I was like, so I'm like, yeah, here's the first quote that I have. This has been such a wonderful adventure. You've made it wonderful. Smooch. And then I'm like, wow, jungle sex. Holy fucking shit. Boobs, werewolf suit, eviscerations, werewolf decapitation by shotgun.
Yeah.
It is like hard and fast.
Dude, this movie has like a reputation of being a bad film, and I genuinely don't get it. Because I think this is one of the most fun werewolf movies I've ever seen.
See, but that's where this comes into play. There are only so many fun werewolf movies. So, like, if you measure them against other movies, it's not. I mean, I agree with you. I think it's like way better than what people say. But there are so many bad werewolf movies that it just makes it like exponentially even better on the great scale. Because you're like, oh, at least there's a good goddamn werewolf movie.
Yeah, because we watched a werewolf movie last month in The Howling 6, and I can fucking tell you this is a lot better than The Howling 6.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing is that I love werewolves. And the thing about werewolf movies is this is just a pet theory of mine that like werewolf movies kind of suck, but werewolves in movies are fucking sweet. Like werewolves I have a really hard time getting into an entire werewolf movie, but if a werewolf is in a horror movie,
Waxwork,
like
for example.
Waxwork, Waxwork, and Trick or Treat,
Or Monster Squad.
or Monster Squad. Look, three of probably my top 20 favorite films right there. Have really sweet werewolves in them, but I'd be really hard pressed to find a straight werewolf movie that I'd be like, yes, I am bored today. I will watch a werewolf movie, because it's more
Agreed.
like, I feel like the best part about werewolf movies are the transformations and the kills. I don't give a shit about people's inner struggle with being a werewolf.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
So the thing that I feel like with this movie is that I feel like the transformation itself is fairly weak, but the wolf itself looks so fucking good.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that wolf looks better than it has any right looking at all.
Right. But the thing about this movie is that it's kind of an inversion of so many werewolf movie tropes, which is why I think it rules. Like, this is my first watch of this film because I always put it off because, like I said, I don't really love werewolf movies, but I love werewolves. And this movie does everything in reverse. You don't see the transformation until the last 10 minutes. Most werewolf movies, you get your actual legit transformation in the first 10 minutes. And this movie...
shows you the wolf right away where they like build towards it usually.
Yeah. And the third thing is that creepy Uncle Ted kind of is like not the anti-hero most werewolves are. He's the fucking bad guy.
Well, he like starts it's weird because he has like this storyline where he starts off like trying to fight against it, and then it's just like, you know what, fuck it, I like it. Like he just like gets a bloodlust mid-movie.
He doesn't even like it. He's just like, he doesn't care. It's such a weird...
If he didn't get bitten by the werewolf in the Amazon, he would have never called that woman ever again.
Oh yeah. No, definitely.
Like that's how much of a piece of shit he is.
Well, here's the thing about that woman. I don't even know who she is, but I would call her a second time because wow.
Yeah, she looks pretty okay.
Pretty okay.
But
she looks very fine.
So we start off in the Amazon. We meet Ted, and then it jumps into a scene that until about the last 20 minutes of the movie just seems like an excuse for exposition and foreshadowing. Which is that this guy shows up at a woman's house and he's attacked by their dog Thor, who is the star of the movie.
Well, it's also because this was based in a book called Thor.
Really? The comic.
Yeah. I saw that too. I saw that too. Like right at the beginning, I saw it in the credits, and I was like, and as soon as the kid called the dog Thor, I was like, so do I know the whole movie now? Like, is there like a
It doesn't change your enjoyment of the film though, because this is the feel-good horror movie of the year, where I know that the dog isn't gonna die.
Right.
So we meet Thor. We meet his owners, Janet, who's a lawyer, and her son, Brett. So, actually, you know what? I skipped over one thing because Scott had mentioned it, and I forgot to mention again. This wolf's head fucking explodes from this shotgun. like it is.
We also get serious head trauma in the first 3 minutes.
I'm only mentioning that because the next kill also has some crazy head trauma. It's like this dude in the woods and he's measuring the trees and the jaws clamp on his helmet and the full helmet and head just collapse under the pressure of the jaws.
Oh, yeah.
I have a note about that, but I think that we're actually missing one thing here because you don't see that guy get killed that early on. I think the next
it's after the 20 minutes of exposition he gets killed.
Yeah. But that guy he gets killed. Like the werewolf eats his like hard hat, and I made some shitty joke. I can't even find it now. I was like, not much of a hard hat. Like it's such a joke, terrible joke that I think it actually got deleted.
You're like, cut that. Don't talk about it on the show. Cut to you talking about the joke for 5 minutes on the show.
Yeah. The first scene you see Thor, the little kid, is his name Jesse? Brett. Wow. So Brett is playing my dog's favorite game, which is called No Take Only Throw, where they don't actually want to give you the ball, but they still expect you to play with them somehow. I love dogs. I love
man, you
this
fucking
movie.
figure it out.
They're like,
so it's in the like 20 minutes of exposition that we get just standing in the driveway that Janet's brother is Ted from the opening scene, and he's inviting her to her place in the woods. And this is when we see the dude with the head fucking crush. And her son Brett finds a book about werewolves while he's just like snooping around the house.
Classic kid finding book.
Yeah. Can we? Well, Kyle, can you find me a copy of Lore of the Werewolf with all those sweet ass?
Look, Kyle can find you damn near anything because I just opened my mail and I have a copy of the Kroll novelization now. So,
hell yeah, man. I can definitely track some weird werewolf shit. I can't find one with I can't find one that cool. But
well,
I can find
What
the
good are
I
you
can find
for?
the paper. I can find the paperback airport edition of that. if that's
Could you just imagine like sitting in like baggage claim and some dude's like just got his legs crossed, sitting on the conveyor belt, waiting for his bag, reading fucking Laura the Werewolf, like paperback edition.
Jesus.
Yeah, and you start checking to make sure that it's not midnight and a full moon. You're like,
It doesn't even have
Doesn't
to be a
have to,
full
yeah.
moon. That's what this.
Oh yeah, I guess if you're in bad mood, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, which I think is kind of stupid because, like, so he turns into a werewolf every night and terrorizes people.
No wonder it's wearing thin on his goddamn conscience. No wonder
But barely. Like, okay, so
Yeah.
he's been back for 2 months from the Amazon. That's what he says.
2 months is a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, he's turned into a werewolf 60 times.
Which means he's getting no
Killed
sleep.
myself.
Like there's never a moment of actual rest.
Oh yeah, he looks like it too. He definitely looks like it.
Yeah,
So
he looks like
Thor
shit.
turns out to be the best detective in the movie because he finds Head Collapse guy like right away, but like a real dick, Thor doesn't tell anybody. So much later, the police discover the murdered man, which leads Ted to decide, oh man, I gotta lay low. So he goes to his sister's house for a little bit. And it's a real step-by-step situation where he's just got the RV parked in the driveway. But this is when Thor does a little bit more snooping and finds a werewolf handcuffed to a tree. And for about the third time, I have written down, Jesus Christ, this wolf looks great. So, like, this thing looks so fucking good.
Yeah, also, and
It really
it's
did.
huge. Like, that has to be a 7.5 foot tall werewolf. Like, the guy in the werewolf suit is on stilts, and he's got like probably 30 or 40 pounds of costume, just his head and neck alone, because that thing's traps are massive. That thing's traps are like each one is like my thigh. It's insane. But we're missing the best part about this movie that we haven't discussed yet. When Thor goes up to Ted's RV and takes a piss on the tire, like it really rubs Ted the wrong way. And it gave me this crazy flashback that I've barely ever thought about. But one time when I was in maybe junior high or like late elementary school, one of our dogs. We had outside dogs because I lived on a farm and I didn't know any better, and apparently neither did my parents. And it was the 80s, but early 90s, whatever. I think back sadly on the fact that they lived outside, but you know, like they had houses outside and all that business. But in any case, one of them was walking around, and I was right next to him, and he took a piss on my dad's tire, and my dad was so mad that he made me tie the dog up in his house, and then he made me get like water and soap and a sponge and wash the piss off of his tire in the middle of winter. I'm like, it's a dog. Who gives a fuck about some piss on your tire?
Yeah.
Well, your
that
dad
story
was a
didn't go
werewolf.
as dark. I was
shit.
terrified where that story was going to go for a split second. I thought it was going to go in a real dark old Yeller level when he was like, he made me tie up the dog, and then he made me go inside, and I'm like, oh no, he's about to say, get the gun.
This would be a much different podcast if that had happened.
But it's like you didn't piss on the tire.
I know. Why am I the one who's in trouble? I didn't stop him. He's a dog.
And I mean, seriously, to stop anybody
Like, you're
midstream is pretty fucked up. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, only an asshole would be like, hey, stop that. And you, like, do it? I mean, if there was a gun to my head, I suppose I would stop midstream. But Matt knows from experience, I have a very strong stream. Isn't that right, Matt?
Wow, I'm very aroused.
So Ted walks in on Brett watching Werewolf in London, which my first thought was like, oh, sweet, where did you get a copy of that? Because I've been looking for Werewolf in London for years. And then just straight schools him on some werewolf knowledge. Like, but like, werewolf knowledge that only exists in the logic of this particular movie, where, like, you might as well just be like, oh, by the way, I'm a werewolf, because there's no other reason to be saying, like, well, they got it wrong, you see. This is the real thing that happens with werewolves.
Yeah, nowhere in that book, nowhere in any other movie. Like, he's just making shit up.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't really like the mythology of this werewolf at all, but it doesn't change the fact that this is like a pretty great werewolf movie in general, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
He has a great line in this scene, though, where the kid's like, well, the only way to kill a werewolf is with a silver bullet. And he goes, I don't know, a shotgun does the job, too.
It's like shotgun to the face.
Yeah, shotgun to the face seems to do the work. So the following night is when Ted transforms and Janet starts looking in his trailer, and that's where she finds just all of the evidence for this. Like, he's, again, if Thor's a good detective, Ted is a really shoddy crook because he's just leaving everything everywhere.
She was really, I meant to say before, he had a strange reaction to the handcuffs in the bag. She had a very strange reaction for their relationship.
I have a sister, and I would be real weirded out if she was like, hey, I don't know what kind of freaky shit you're into. Elbow.
Yeah, right? I'd be like, hard pass. Please don't talk to me for at least a few months. I'll see you. I don't know.
I'm going back to the woods to like bleach my brain.
This is obviously a bad idea. I'm leaving.
So here's where the movie gets a little bit convoluted, just a little bit, and it raises a lot of questions for me. All while this is happening, Ted's tied to the tree. Janet's looking through the trailer. This is where the guy in the beginning of the movie, the Flopsy, as she called him, trespasses on her property and is killed by Ted, and it frames Thor. And what I don't understand is, like, the cops are just like, yep, nope, your dog totally killed this guy on your property. And it's kind of like, well, what the fuck was this guy doing on my property? Like, it seems like a pretty cut, like, self-defense type situation with this dog, but like, I don't know what the laws are like.
Yeah, also it's 1996. Things were a little bit different back then, but there's a term that the Flopsy says at the beginning scene, or maybe the mom says it because she's talking about explaining to Brett what Flopsies do, and she says the term have their pets destroyed, and it's always really irked the shit out of me. I hate that term, having your pets destroyed. That's getting your pets killed, because pets are living creatures, not property. But pet laws are such that actually they are legally considered property.
Oh, yeah. So they use something like destroyed to... Oh, jeez.
But then this leads to... Now Ted becomes a real dick because he frames Thor and makes sure that Thor attacks him. And then, like, the thing is... I never say this. This movie could have used an extra 5 minutes or so. Like, this movie's so short that the last 10 minutes just come at you rapid fire without a lot of time to process it. Because this movie's an hour and 19 minutes, and that's including credits. Like, this movie is super short. But yeah, like, so now Ted is like totally cool with being a killer werewolf, so he's kind of like, fuck the handcuffs. Meanwhile, Brett's trying to break Thor out of the pound, and then like... it's just so much is happening at once. It's a lot to follow, but Thor saves the day, just like totally wrecks Ted. It's great.
Yeah, that's actually where my suspension of disbelief broke, because as much as I love Thor, there's no fucking way that German Shepherd could like 1v1 a 7-foot tall werewolf. And when Ted transforms back, he's like, finish it. And he's like, really shredded, not like in the like Ben Solo kind of shredded, but rather like in the wow, I just got mauled by a German Shepherd kind of shredded. But a couple things about when Ted transforms back. So he is just like shredded up from the fight with Thor, but also like his sister shot him with a revolver. And I actually have a really shitty joke here. Shot him 6 times, or was it 5? It's a Howling joke for you. But because she like shoots him and then it clicks like a couple times because she's in the moment, you know, like, oh, she was just going on instinct. And that doesn't kill the werewolf. Thor pushing him out the window kills, or like, you know, basically incapacitates him enough that he runs off to the forest, transform, and then he doesn't just immediately die from his massive dogfight wounds and 6 bullet holes from like a 45. And so then he, like, you know, he's such an asshole because he's like, he could just kill himself, but he tells the dog to kill him. He's like, oh, I'm a murderous werewolf, but you should probably kill me.
Yeah,
Finish
is
it.
that like some sort of weird like dog werewolf honor that he like? Because he did say in the beginning of the movie that they were two of a kind or whatever, and
Yeah,
then
I don't
like it feels
think-
like they had some sort of. It's not. It's I'm making an excuse.
Yeah.
It's certainly not what happened, but I feel like
Law of the
like,
jungle, law of the forest, man.
Yeah, I feel like they wanted to have some like, oh, you bested me this time, Thor, but in another life. Like I don't know what's going on.
Dora's gonna have like werewolf PTSD. Poor dog. He's gonna be like thinking back to the time he had to kill his master's brother. When he
Yeah.
could have just
It's like that. I think it was in Community, the show Community, where it was Chevy Chase's character. Like his dad's will basically stated that whoever killed him got his fortune. It's like,
Oh, okay. I guess Thor now owns that shitty RV. Good
Yeah.
job, buddy.
Good job, Thor.
well, he peed on it, so he already claimed ownership early on.
Yeah. You're missing two parts that I want to touch. Three things. I'm sorry. So I think it's the cop who finally shows up when the Flopsy's found dead, and he's like telling the mom, if it was your dog, once a dog becomes a biter, he gets a taste for human blood. And I'm like, give me a fucking break. That's not true at all. 96 was a much different time. But there's that, which just really annoys the shit out of me. And then they take Thor away, and that broke my heart, because I was like, fight for your dog. Come on now. He's a good boy. But then when Brett goes to when he goes to get him out of the pound, the kid yells, "Oh shit!" And so we have a kid swearing in this movie, which really just puts it over the top to absolute 5 stars for me. But then it takes it back down to 4.5 stars because the kid is obviously a selfish prick, just like his uncle, because he only springs Thor loose from the pound and leaves the rest of those dogs to get euthanized. So fuck you, Brett.
Yeah, what a piece of shit. You're right. He could have really been doing a lot of stuff here.
You know, fuck this movie. And then,
Garbage.
So the movie does end with a thing that was going through my head the first time I watched it as well, which is like, so is Thor like a were-dog? Like what's?
Because he got bitten.
Because he got bitten.
But they spent so much money on that second prosthesis for literally a split-second shot that isn't even a good payoff.
No.
No, it didn't. It wasn't as good of a payoff. It wasn't like the dogs from The Thing, which I thought it was going to sort of look like. Like in that brief glimpse, I was like, "Oh shit, here we go!" And then she woke up, and I was like, "Oh, all right."
Yeah. Carrie, it ain't. It's basically.
Yeah, no.
How pissed off do you think the guy was, or the team was, that made that animatronic articulating dog monster, and you see it for basically a blink of an eye? Like, if you watch this movie in the theater and you blinked at the wrong moment, you miss the entire prosthetic.
Especially because of how good they showed every bit of the werewolf. So it's like they showed every piece of it without fail, except for the weird CGI transformation. But that's just, I mean, honestly, I almost excuse that at this point, because I'm like, look, if you're going to fuck everything up, it's okay that it's the last like 5 minutes and I already saw so much of the werewolf. But like, then that dog, I just wanted so much more for Thor. The werewolf dog.
Okay, so I hope that he gets to sleep in the bed, like the big human bed, every night for the rest of his dog life, because the mom won't let him in the beginning, and I'm like, let the dog in the bed. But then the dog goes and like lays on a carpet in front of a roaring fire that downstairs where no one is. Like
no one's paying attention. She mom's definitely gonna fall asleep.
Yeah, she falls asleep with her work multiple times in this movie, and she's just leaving like a roaring fire going unattended. Do they want to die via werewolf or house being burnt down? She's gonna die.
They only have a couple options.
Great movie, terrible transformation in the last 10 minutes, but it's definitely forgivable because in 1996, unless you had James Cameron money, CGI was not happening at the level that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, like I know we're talking shit about it, but it's there was parts of it that like blended all right. There was one like facial moment that like there was no sort of rotoscoping or anything like that, and it just kind of really faded into that like half werewolf, half man portion. And I was like, oh, this could be all right. And then when we stepped back, it was like Lawnmower Man, and I was like, all right. It wasn't that bad. That was hyperbole for sure, but it wasn't great either.
I remember what I was going to say was about the dog werewolf combo. Like, Scott, remember when we interviewed that girl who worked on the walrus for Tusk?
Oh yeah, last year
Yeah,
Monster Mania.
imagine if you had been working on this particular this particular piece for God knows how long, and like you're taking your family there and you're like super excited, and then like they dropped like a quarter for a second. It's like, no! It's all over. Hey guys, we just want to take a quick break in the middle of the episode to remind you that Scott and I
Yeah, I'm here.
are going to be at Monster Mania this year. Once again, it's going to be on March 9th through the 11th. If you're in the area, please come by, swing by, say hi. We're going to be having some pizza party with anybody who listens to the show on Friday night. Should be fun. And then Saturday, it's the big moment. It's the big event, perhaps. We'll be doing 2 live episodes. Scott, what movies are we going to be talking about?
Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, and Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors.
Oh man, it's going to be a 3-evening with horror movie night.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to be having it at a place called The Big Event. There's bowling, there's video games, there's pool. I think I heard that there's laser tag, but when I did the tour, I didn't see it. So I don't know. The website might be lying. Regardless, come check it out. It's going to be a free event. Get drunk, get bowling, watch us do our live show. There'll be some guest appearances from some fan favorites. Now back to the episode. All right, so what did you guys watch this week?
You go first. Anybody
Okay,
else?
I'll go with the 2 movies that I saw that are currently in theaters. By the time that this episode drops, they'll be currently coming out on DVD. But I went and saw 2 movies this weekend. I saw one movie that was really, really fucking good, and one movie that was horrible. So I saw I, Tonya, which was really, really good, and I strongly recommend it to everybody. And then I saw The Commuter with Liam Neeson, which is about as good as a movie in which Liam Neeson beats somebody with a guitar could possibly be.
Who wants to walk with Liam?
That's a reference that I will get and maybe 3 people on the Facebook page.
3 other people. Cool. Yeah, sorry. That came out of nowhere.
But yeah, it's bad. Liam Neeson, I have no clue how he is an action star and has been a very profitable action star for the last couple of years. But like 65 and doing these action movies, not looking good for him.
Hey, but that ties perfectly back into the book that you just got in the mail because he was in
in
Krull. That was his first action
dude.
movie, right?
Krull, no, I'm putting Krull down on my ever-growing list of non-horror movies to put up for voting one day.
You can hear him like tapping away.
Sneak
on
peek.
Trello.
The ones that I'm trying to choose between: Stay Tuned, Streets of Fire, Cool World, or Krull. All right. Well, I'm done for what I watched this week.
I'll take the reins here. So I believe it was last week I talked about Ash vs. Evil Dead season 1, right? Well, I think I talked about finishing season 1. I burnt through season 2, and I love that show. I was saying, I don't know if Army of Darkness is canon in the show. It is, because you see more stuff from Army of Darkness, and I believe that they even have the original Evil Dead as canon, but they never really explain it, which is fine because who cares? It's just fun. Like, the show is so fun, but there's a part where his car, the Delta, gets possessed by the Necronomicon, and oh my god, like I've previously talked about how much head trauma this TV show has, but this episode where the possessed car is the star, like the main antagonist of the episode, there is the most gnarly head trauma I think I've ever seen, and it's on a TV show, not even a movie, and it is just hilarious and gross, and I feel bad for laughing. I feel desensitized, but it's supposed to be over the top and silly, but they just did a great job. I love that show so much.
God bless him. I've only seen a couple episodes for whatever
on
reason.
Netflix.
I know it's on Netflix now. I've seen it like pass through on my queue, so it's on there. I'm just so bad at watching TV. I'm the worst. One of these days I'll get to it though. I held at our house. We held one of the best or worst double features of all time. I'll let you choose. We watched Get Out first. Well, let me preface this. My wife and I had seen the movies. Our roommate, my cousin, and my sister had not seen either of these two movies. So we watched Get Out because, that's got some buzz and everybody's starting to want to see it again if they didn't catch it in February of last year. So they all loved it. We loved it watching it a second time. It's fantastic. And I think watching it, especially with some non-horror fans, is really fun and it's really accessible. And it's cool to see them react to it. We followed that up with 2003's The Room. So that's it. It's not. We didn't follow it up with another good movie or something classic that like drew inspiration or anything like that. No, we followed it up with The Room, which they had never seen either. And my copy has been missing for a long time, so we finally ordered another copy. And again, you can only preface The Room. Not again, excuse me. I've told them this a few times, but you can only preface The Room with so much before you just actually have to sit down and watch it. So we actually tried not to front load it too much. We just we came up with like a 2-sentence it's the worst movie ever made. Point here, just watch the movie. And we sat through The Room after we watched such a good movie, and it was a doozy, man. it was it's actually, it goes by pretty fast for watching it again. I would thought watching a bad movie to that caliber again was going to go by pretty slow. I was worried I was going to be oh, why am I putting myself through this again? Because if you watch some of those bad 80s or 90s or whatever shot on video ones, it's even though they were fun that first time, they really pale in comparison the second, third, whatever time. The Room you could easily watch again. I would give it a little bit of space, but The Room you could definitely sit and watch again because you pick up on just the craziest little shit, and it's awful, and they all hated it, and we all left, and it was a great night.
All right, well, that was Bad Moon from 1996 as picked by me. Next,
Sorry, I'm sorry.
we're going to be discussing another movie next week. Hey, Kyle, would you like to join us next week?
I could do that.
Okay. Well, you better start to work out because we're going to have to hit the gym a few times.
I just got my membership.
Okay, cool. So we're going to be talking about something next week. Can't say what. It was picked by Scott, and we're definitely going to have a good time. But what we need you to do so that we continue to have a good time is hit us up on our social medias. So that means visiting us on Twitter at HMN Podcast, visiting our Facebook page, Horror Movie Night Podcast, emailing us, hmnpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know some stuff that you think about these episodes. Maybe we'll do a mailbag episode in the near future. And also, while you're at it, how about donating some money to our Patreon at patreon.com/hmnpodcast? Or, if you're really cool, leave us some reviews on iTunes, because apparently that matters in some type of algorithm. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. We will be back next week.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.